And what a place I've got for you here. Welcome to Martin Down National Nature Reserve. 350 hectares of wildlife paradise. Now this chalk downland is a remnant of a once ancient landscape that covered much of this part of England. Its wildflower meadows are renowned and it's a crucial habitat for birds. The cuckoo's been cuckooing all day here. You get about half of the UK's butterflies here too. It's one of the best places in the whole country for butterflies, and that includes 6 of the blue species. And some of the flowers here, well, it's mind-blowing. It is a truly colourful, truly amazing place. And it's made possible for several reasons, but one of the crucial ones is this. It's nutrient-poor chalk soils. It's lacking in a lot of the essential ingredients that plants need to grow. Nitrogen, potassium, and what that means is that the plants grow slowly. Not one plant or not one group of plants dominate, and that encourages the wide variety of flowering plants that we see here. Now it's particularly good for orchids. Earlier on I saw 2 orchid enthusiasts who come all the way down from North Yorkshire to enjoy them. They have around 8 species here, and that includes this beautifully marked, delicate little orchid here. That is the common spotted orchid. Isn't that lovely? Look at that, common orchid here. But we also have a very rare orchid here too, and that is called the burnt tip orchid. And if you look at this, you'll see exactly why it's called that. You see the top of the stalk there looks like it's been charred, dark tip to the petals. They have up to 70 flowers on one plant, although 30 to 40 is more usual. And the smallest of the native orchids there, the flowers are very small, and although it doesn't produce nectar, it has a lovely, slightly sort of honey smell to it. Now, our orchids produce very small seeds. They're often called dust seeds, and that's what they're carried hundreds of miles on the wind. But there's a disadvantage to that too, because in that seed package, they're unable to carry enough nutrients to germinate. But orchids have recruited a hidden ally, fungi. Under the ground here, there's a whole network, a whole superhighway of fungal mycelium. Let me show you how it all works. This is the burnt tip orchid. This is the seed, or the dust seed, enlarged of course. Once it hits the soil, it's sought out by a fungus. They then bind together, and the seed can steal the nutrients, the sugars it needs from the mycorrhizal fungus here, and then it'll produce a protocorm, a kind of a bulb that's still hidden underground, and then packed full of nutrients, and then that will thrust up as a burnt tip orchid spike once more. They used to think that this whole process took up to about 15 years, but they've now discovered that it takes 3 years. You might think that that is a long, long time, but for an orchid, it's not. It's actually remarkably fast. Now, the burnt tip, as I say, is very scarce. Unfortunately, we've lost a lot of our chalk downland. We've lost a lot of our hay meadows. And since the late 1930s, we've actually lost 97% of our hay meadows here in the UK. I remember as a young lad helping the local farmers to gather in the hay. It's all gone over to silage now. And of course, hay meadows need to be managed. They need to be grazed, but they need to be grazed very lightly, because if you overgraze, you lose all of your scarce plants. If you undergraze, then the scrub takes over. If you plough it, reseed it, fertilise it, you lose absolutely everything. Thankfully, the wardens and the rangers here have got the management just right. And Chris and Michaela, I don't know if you've ever been up here, But I have to tell you, I've never heard so many skylarks in my whole life. They're singing all around me.
Wow. I've got to tell you, Iolo, Martin Down is one of my favourite ever places. I fell in love with it as a teenager. I used to go up there to see Montague's harriers. And in fact, I went there on my 21st birthday. I dragged my mum and dad, my sister and her boyfriend, and my girlfriend of the time, Joanne, and we went up there on May the 4th in the freezing cold, and we saw stone curlews displaying. What about that?
Oh, that is really charming for your 21st.
It was.
My 21st was a party in a nightclub in London.
Speaks volumes, speaks volumes. No more comment.
Welcome back to Martin Down National Nature Reserve. Now, earlier on, I emphasised the importance of this area for wildflowers, especially orchids, and for invertebrates, especially butterflies. But it's also vitally important for a whole host of other wildlife too. Now, mammals, lots of mammals here. Brown hares. Brown hares are common. They love the open areas where they can graze, and then the hidden areas, the taller vegetation. Roe deer here as well. They'll feed in the open pastures, blackbirds gathering insects to feed its chicks, but more than anything else, skylarks. This place is absolutely buzzing with skylarks, flying up into the sky, sometimes hundreds of meters, singing constantly. And I spoke to one of the rangers here, and they survey every year, carrying out transects. They walk the same line year in, year out. And this year, on one of them, they actually counted over 131 individual skylarks. Honestly, more skylarks here than I've ever heard anywhere else, ever. It's a fantastic, fantastic place.